We have a case that's so intense it took 2 episodes to get through it, and it still left chills for Char and I. This case was so insane. I want you guys to really dig deep into this case with us and just ask yourself, how? Why? Let's all go on this journey together of discovery and bafflement. It's the conclusion of the Harrison family murders, right now on Love and Murder. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Love and Murder, the weekly true crime podcast discussing relationships gone terribly wrong. And when I say terribly wrong, how wrong do I mean?
She means dead wrong. Dead. Dum dum dum.
Dead.
Dead wrong, Ky.
In Love and Murder, we don't have the A in dead. That's how dead they are. I am your host, Ky, along with my co-hosts, the recently moved, the gorgeous, the taller than me.
That's not hard.
Shut up. Anyway, what's your name? You didn't tell the listeners your name.
Char. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're glad you're here.
You see how she always messes up my intro? She should just do it seamlessly, but never. Anyways.
Never. It wouldn't be me.
Our show discusses true crime cases told in the form of a story with mystery, suspense, and just a little bit of humor sprinkled on top. But what, Char?
Never at the expense of the victims. Only America's dumbest criminals, you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
The dumb ones. They're all dumb. And if you're a criminal, you're dumb.
Crazy situations that some law enforcement's put you through. I don't know what's going on with that.
Oh, yeah. Definitely that.
As you're going to see in this story. Wait till y'all get a load of this story. Anyway, download Good Pods and subscribe to Love and Murder over there, as well as check out other indie podcasts. Good Pods is good for iOS and Android, so you can listen on the go. Tonight, we're continuing the mysterious case of the Harrison family murders. Last week, we left off on this note. On April 21st, the day before Melissa's abduction hearing, Caleb and Melissa's 8-year-old son came home from school on his bike. He put his bike up, opened the front door, and saw his grandmother laying on the floor on the bottom of the stairs. But before we begin, I'm going to give you my weekly reminder to listen to our last episode, which was actually part 1 of the Harrison family murders. For you to appreciate and understand the craziness of part 2, you actually have to go back and listen to the first half.
That's right.
So you can find part 1 anywhere you get your podcasts, or you can go to our website, www.murderandlove.com, and click on case files in the menu above. And in our exclusive community, we have a bonus episode of Getting to Know the Host. Char and I answer questions that are supposed to, go deep and get to the heart of who we are. So far, people are loving that episode. So that's right. What's here right now. And later on, I'll tell you a little bit more about our Patreon and what's actually there for you to listen to. But in the meantime, don't forget www.patreon.com/Love and Murder. Join us there. And now, let's continue the case. Scared, he ran to a neighbor's house and they called 911. EMRs came to the house and saw that Bridget was lying face up. Her head was lying on the last stair, her arms were at her side, and her eyes were open. First responders deduced that Bridget had fallen down the stairs, in which the family said, "Bullshit!" Quote, "There's no way anyone falls down the stairs and ends up in that position. It doesn't look right. It doesn't make sense." End quote. This is what Caleb said.
Okay.
When the coroner, Dr. Robert Boyko, arrived, he noticed that there were abrasions and bruising on her chin and neck. Now, if you remember correctly, that happened to Bill too.
Right. It sounds like deja vu.
Mm-hmm. So this sparked concern for him, and he had the body sent for full forensic autopsy because they ruled it as a suspicious death.
Good job.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't for him, they would have just been like, well, she just looks like she fell down the step. Another open and shut case, Johnson. Let's go. But this autopsy is something Bill's body didn't get. Because remember, they were like, he had a heart attack, though. Okay,
right.
Let's go get some food. Anyway, they noted that Bridget had a broken neck, evidence of neck compression, which is a sign of asphyxiation, and she had several broken ribs.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. The family told officers about Melissa and her actions, her constant unsubstantiating complaints. Now, if you listen to episode 1, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The novels she used to write. Oh, my God. And her kidnapping the kids and her husband's Facebook page. So they told officers about all of this. Hours after the body was found, Caleb spoke with Constable Robert Boyer on camera, in which he reiterated Melissa's actions in the past and the fact that his mom's death coincided with Melissa's hearing date. On April 23rd, during the case conference, the forensic pathologist explained to officers that the injuries sustained on the front of Bridget's neck, along with, you're going to have to bear with me because I don't know what this word is. Potassial hemorrhaging. If medical professions are out there, you want to correct me, please do.
Please help us if you are.
Yeah. So injuries sustained on the front of Bridget's neck, along with the potassial hemorrhaging, brought them to the conclusion of neck compression. So basically, I had to look up what this meant because I'm not in the medical field. And if I'm saying it wrong, please correct me. But in layman's terms, there were like red dotted type of bruising on her skin and blood spots in the eyes, which means that the blood vessels broke during pressure buildup, which is usually what happens when
someone is strangled or held tightly.
Exactly.
Pressure is applied.
And then, so the dotted red bruising on the skin that usually happens. Exactly. If somebody's holding you very tightly or anything like that. Yes. So this, along with what the report called, quote, neck compression, all pointed to strangulation. But then again, she had broken bones in the back of her neck. This is what swayed them away from the strangulation theory, because you don't typically see this in like neck compression cases.
But it could have been that. It could have been both. I mean, many murders happen with a multitude of, trauma.
So, let that sink in. Anyways, quote, at this time, it is unknown how she suffered this combination of injuries, end quote. This is what police wrote after their meeting and everything like that. But then my thing is, and this is what Char brought up, using common sense. Wouldn't you immediately think that she was strangled and then pushed down the stairs, which caused the broken bones in her chest and back of the neck? I mean, like Char said, like how hard was that? She has this, she has these hemorrhaging which links with strangulation. Then she has broken bones. So it could be strangled, pushed down the stairs, or it could even have been pushed down the stairs. She didn't die, which is why they strangled her. It could have been that.
To be sure that, unfortunately.
It could be any number of these things, but it's like, why does it have to be one or the other? And because she has something that y'all never saw before, you just, it can't be strangulation. That doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't.
Anyways, later that afternoon, during a second meeting with the coroner, they brought in concerns from the chief forensic pathologist, Dr. Michael Polanin. He was worried that this was the second death in the house and wondered about the similarities in the death, which I already said that. As soon as they said, oh, she had this, I was like, wait a second. That's the same thing Bill had. So he reminded officers that Bill had died with unexplained injuries, like Bridget, including the throat abrasions and a fractured sternum. Dr. Polanin reported that the earlier pathologist, Dr. Feltis, hadn't performed the required, did you hear that? Required layered neck dissection to find out where the mark on Bill's throat came from. So he didn't even do it. He was just like, looks like he died of a heart problem.
It's like a guessing game with this crew. I don't get that.
They didn't do what they were supposed to do. Right. That's what I'm saying. It said required. Anyway, Dr. Polanin requested that Bill's body be exhumed to be able to do the proper autopsy. But guess what, Char? Just guess what?
They can't exhume it for some reason. Maybe there's a protest. I don't know, but they can't exhume it.
There's a reason. They couldn't exhume it because Bill had been cremated. So.
Oh, but wasn't that the request of? Oh, yeah. I remember that now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the death of his mother and the way the investigation was going broke Caleb, which I couldn't even imagine. Although they had a rocky relationship, which if you listen to part 1, you would understand, although they were up and down, they had a rocky relationship. Their temperaments really didn't match. He still loved his mother. Just because you have a rocky relationship doesn't mean you don't love your mom.
That's right.
And Caleb ended up going into a deep depression. He broke up with Corinda and began to drink again. If you remember, he had stopped drinking. And listen to part 1 to find out why. On April 26, he got temporary sole custody of the kids, and Melissa would only be allowed to see them during supervised visits. Police interviewed Melissa and Caleb, but because Caleb had a rough relationship with his mother, investigators eyed him as the main suspect. Like, really?
That's the reason? Oh, wow.
He was like,
sorry,
he
Mom.
doesn't get along with his mom, so it must be you.
Yeah.
Like, are you paying attention here? Like, anyways, in Melissa's interview, she told officers that on the day Bridget died, she was home taking care of a child from a home daycare that she was trying to start. Caleb's alibi also came through, which he'd been working all day. Police then interviewed Christopher, who said he'd been running errands all day and working in his backyard. Investigators retrieved surveillance videos from one of the stores Christopher said he went to and affirmed his presence there. So now the investigation has stalled. So everybody's alibis came through, checked out, and they're just like, okay. Investigators spent 2 weeks investigating Bridget's death, but in early May, the officer in charge of the investigation was reassigned to another command team. They were just like, get off this case and let's put you on something else. That water well over there is broken, so we got to figure that out. So come on. Quote, I really didn't have too much more involvement. End quote. That's the officer that was reassigned. That's what he said. Then no one knew who took over the case after that. And even the junior detective on the case didn't have any involvement in the investigation after the end of April. So basically, this case is like just sitting there and nobody's working on it. It's just, is
that considered a cold case, would you think?
A cold case means that somebody was trying to work on it, but they didn't have any more leads. They didn't close it. It's not that they just reassigned people off of it. They're waiting for leads to come through. Mm-hmm. No, this one, they were just like, leave the folder. Come on. We have other stuff to do. Like, that was it.
More important, it
wasn't even a cold case. It was an abandoned case.
Abandoned is what it sounds like.
On June 10th.
That's sad.
It really is. On June 10th, the pathologist dealing with the case presented their findings, which read, quote, possible mechanisms of injury, end quote. The forensic pathologist who performed Bridget's autopsy documented his findings of, quote, neck injuries as the cause of death. What?
Okay, so now they're back to the old, there was some broken bones or injury. But how are they still going with being thrown down the stairs, though? They're not saying? Because neck injuries could have happened from strangulation.
Well, strap in.
That
Listen
doesn't mean
to this. The police then presented their own findings and wrote, quote, no evidence of foul play was discovered. The injuries, however, cannot be explained by a single mechanism, end quote.
Oh, they're saying a single source or manner. That's not true, though. Even we can see there's foul play. And I'm pretty sure our listeners are like, yeah.
The listeners are probably screaming right now.
They're baffled. You guys are like, what?
Dude.
What the?
In doing my research, that's how I was. Like, are you serious right now?
We demand a thorough investigation. That's not thorough.
Yeah, you wish. I'm pretty sure the family demanded that too. Mm-hmm. The forensic coroner then classified her death as, quote, undetermined. And that was it. On September 2nd, 2010, the junior investigator closed out the case saying, quote, after an extensive investigation into this matter, there has been no evidence to suggest Bridget Harrison was a victim of foul play or any other criminal act. The coroner has concluded that the cause of death in this manner is asphyxiation, and the mechanism of death is unknown. Case closed, pending the receipt of further information.
That sounds so impossible. It just does. This is bad.
During the next 3 years, Caleb got into a groove of being a single father and resumed his relationship with Corinda. He got a job at CMC Electronics, and although he still couldn't drive, he'd made plans with a neighbor to take the kids to school and back home. So he was working it out, you know?
Yeah.
He was very active in the kids' lives because he was trying to be more like his father was with him, which I think helped him kind of get out of depression and get back out of drinking again. So he was trying to live up to what his father was doing with him. So he was very active in the kids' lives and even volunteered in their baseball league as their coach. He was still depressed about his parents' death, but, you know, like I said, he was pushing forward. Melissa and Christopher, on the other hand, moved to Perth County, which is approximately 2 hours away from Caleb. And while they're there, you know, they're living their life, but let it be noted that ever so often they would search for news about Bill and Bridget, and one of them used their computer to search on Google, quote, how to tell if your phone is tapped, end quote.
Really?
Like, why are you caring about that? I've never searched how to tell if my phone is tapped. Exactly.
I would definitely, you know, that raises some eyebrows for sure.
I have never searched how to tell if my phone is tapped. I could tell you that.
I hope not.
Anyways, Caleb allowed Melissa to have unsupervised access to the children as they would stay at their mom's house every other week. So it's like 1 week he had them, the next week she had them, and he allowed the unsupervised access. On March 1st, 2012, while Melissa was 5 months pregnant with her sixth child, they woke up to a noise at their bedroom door and saw smoke coming in from under the door. So, of course, they jumped up, freaking out, you know, house on fire, fire, fire. They ran and grabbed the children from their beds and got out of the house through a bedroom window. However, their pets, which were at the time 2 dogs, a guinea pig, and a rabbit, weren't so fortunate to get out. Which, this is what I don't understand. Well, I guess they got out through the window. But couldn't you have, like, run and open the front door, or open a door and just, like, in the hopes that they could find their way out at least?
Yeah, because if they're in a room, was the door closed?
I don't know.
That's what it sounds like.
So they got out of the bedroom window, so they didn't go out the front door.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't know where the pets were, but I'm like, you could have opened up something and give them a fighting chance to get out. That's what I was thinking. So,
okay, but think about this, Ky. If you went out the bedroom window, obviously you couldn't come down the stairs or go anywhere near the front of the door. So
but
of course they couldn't open the front door.
The front door to see if the handle's hot or something. You could look out. I don't know. I think.
But if you could walk the front door, you would have gone out the front door.
I don't.
If you could walk down the stairs.
No, check it. Maybe the stairs were on fire, but maybe not. Like the living room was on fire yet. You know what I'm saying? You could have still opened the front door or the back door, or.
Well, if I did, I'm going out. I'm not going to go out my window and break a bone, possibly.
But are you listening to me? If the stairs are on fire, so you can't get downstairs, but upstairs your bedroom wasn't on fire yet, and then the living room wasn't on fire yet. Do you see what I'm saying?
But the living room's downstairs.
Exactly. So you get out the window from upstairs, and then you go to the front door and open the front door, or break a window in the living room and let the pets out. Something.
Okay. Well, I guess it's worth a shot. It's better than them dying.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I would try and save my pets, but I understand sometimes there's absolutely no way to do it, which I understand.
Right.
But then I know, because I know some people, it's like, they're just like, well, sucks to be the pets, and they don't even try. So I think this is why I'm more annoyed, because I know there are some people out there who don't even try and save the pets. So
yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah.
They don't. They love their pets until it's a matter of making that decision.
Exactly.
Yeah. Then suddenly they're supposed to be part of the family until
it's time to actually be part of the family.
Yeah.
I understand. Save the people first. Save your children definitely first. But then try and find a way, if it's not going to get somebody killed or something like that.
Right.
Try and find a way to save the pets. You know? But
can you guys tell we do love animals on Love and Murder? We do. We have compassion.
Anyways, by the time firefighters arrived and put out the fire, the entire house had been destroyed.
Oh,
Firefighters deduced that it had started in the living room. Well, there goes our plan of letting them out.
I know. See, we actually had a 5-minute debate over that, and literally that was the answer. Okay.
Well, I still say there was probably the kitchen or the dining room. I'm still going to root for the pets. Anyway, the family moved into a hotel room and started a GoFundMe asking for $50,000 to help them restart their lives, and they only received about $5,000. Sometime after this incident, Caleb went back to enforcing the sole custody ruling with Melissa, only having supervised visitation. I mean, seriously, who could blame him? Like, really? The kids, I mean, it could have happened anywhere, but some parents, we are irrational about our children. So it could have happened at his house, but it happened at her house. So he's like, no, screw that. I want my kids back, and you get supervised visitation. So, I mean, I can understand where he's coming from. At the same time, I can understand that she's like, it wasn't my fault. Like, you know, these things happen. So I got to understand both sides. So with this back in effect, August 22nd, 2013 would be the last day that the kids would stay with Melissa. On this same day, Caleb took his kids to their baseball game, as he normally would, and then took them back to stay with Melissa. When Caleb got home, he turned on the TV and around 11 p.m. called Corinda. He then put his phone on silent mode, which he normally did because he was a light sleeper. So he put his phone on silent mode and went to bed. And like I said, because he was a light sleeper, he wore, you know those eye masks that you wear to go to bed?
Yeah, I have many of those and I don't use them.
Are you serious? I don't even have one.
I have so many. I have designer mask all of them.
Why?
I don't know why they're designer, but I just don't wear them. I just keep buying them and collect. Okay, I'm going to be honest. One of them I used during one of my S&M sessions with one of my ex-lovers. So, yeah.
Moving on.
But that I did use. That I did use.
Moving on, people. Anyway, so he wore...
Flashback Char over here.
So he wore an eye mask, and he also had a loud fan running in the background for that, you know, that white noise, so like little sounds doesn't wake you up. So this is how he goes to sleep. Yeah.
To help you sleep.
Exactly. On August 23rd, the housekeeper came over to clean Caleb's house, and at noon, Caleb's coworker came to the house wondering, you know, why he hadn't come to work. He didn't call. He didn't tell anyone. He just didn't show up. So he dropped by the house to check on him, which I think is so thoughtful because when I worked outside of my house, if I didn't go to work, I was just a no-call, no-show. Nobody checked on me. That was just written up as a no-call, no-show. So he thought that Caleb had overslept. He went up to his room and knocked on the door. The housekeeper said, "I'm scared. I'm scared." I mean, who could blame her given the history of the house? I'd be scared too. As soon as somebody doesn't answer the door, I'll be like, ah, shit. They could be on vacation,
I'm not going
just
like,
crap. Yeah, exactly. I'm not touching anything. I'll actually wipe my handprint off the door from me knocking. Yeah, I don't know. Because the history of these police, they'll be like, I found a handprint of the next door neighbor. She did it. What? So after no response, they let themselves into Caleb's room. Hey guys, you already know who this is. Cliffhanger Ky here to interrupt yet another story. You know how to get rid of me? Join our Patreon. Or I mean, I guess you could just hit fast forward. But join our Patreon. But first, let me remind you to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode, and we'll be ever so grateful if you would leave us a 5-star review on the platform of your choice. Also, here's why you should join us over in our exclusive L&M community on Patreon at www.patreon.com/love and murder instead of just hitting fast forward. Number 1, you won't have to waste time trying to figure out when this commercial ends because in Patreon there are no commercials. Number 2, once you become a subscriber, you get access to Crazy Crime Corner, Love Obsession, Serial Killer Corner, Relationship Advice, Ky and Char's Crazy Life Story, behind the scenes, and so much more. Last week, we have Get to Know the Host. So there's an episode of Getting to Know Us, and we also had a random crazy crime story, just a random extra story. And this week, we have Serial Corner. You don't want to miss any of these stories and the fun that we have in here. Come on and join for starting at $3 a month. Don't miss out. www.patreon.com/loveandmurder. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, we'll give you 5 seconds to subscribe because you know how much we like to fifth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth. And now back to the show. After no response, they let themselves into Caleb's room, and that's where they found his body still in bed. They called 911, and when paramedics arrived, one of them, Patrick Morin, thought to himself, quote, "I've been here before." He was actually one of the paramedics who came to the house after Bridget died. Can you imagine that?
That's all I can say.
Exactly.
Wow.
Police noted questionable injuries like abrasions and bruising on Caleb's neck. Where have we heard that before? Good Lord. There were also deep scratches on his chest and his knuckles were swollen. Which sounds like he's been fighting somebody. Exactly. So now how are they going to claim this was natural causes? He was sleepwalking and punched a wall and then, I don't know, walked into the wall and put abrasions on his neck and then died of a
that took a lot of imagination for you to figure all that out right now.
I'm trying to figure out how they're going to make this into natural causes now because he has scratches on his chest. He has scratches on his knuckles. His knuckles are swollen. He has the abrasions and bruises on his neck. Ooh, I know. Yeah. Ever seen that movie Poltergeist?
That's what it was. Yeah. Possession.
That's what they were going to say.
It was demonic possession.
Yes. Or maybe the Poltergeist just came out and they did the same thing because all three people have abrasions and bruises. So
it's reaching too.
That's
so,
Poltergeist.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, let's see how they messed this one up. So they took the body for an autopsy, and unlike the other death, this death was ruled a murder by asphyxiation. Oh my God, they ruled it a murder, Char. Oh, finally. The autopsy showed that Caleb had been strangled. The autopsy didn't show that the rest of them had been strangled. Anyways, also, another difference in this case was that a fully trained, that's the difference, a fully trained and certified forensic pathologist was handling the autopsy. That's right. In the previous cases, the forensic pathologist performing the autopsy was still in the training process. These MFers were still in school, yo, and they were fully on a
How did that even happen?
Case with nobody watching them. There was no fully trained
overlooking
pathologist
crazy.
Watching them. Yes, it was just the dude that was still in school.
That explains the ignorance anyway.
Oh my God.
It's a lot. I'm
getting worked up. Anyways, now everyone questioned the other two deaths. Now, after everyone was dead, they began investigating 3 homicides. After the whole family's dead.
We might want to look into this as a homicide.
We should rule this a homicide. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's look into this and prevent this murderer from happening again. Everybody's dead. What are you talking about? Clearly they're only targeting these people. Who else are you trying to protect? Anyways, almost immediately, they put Melissa and Christopher under surveillance, something they should have done years back. They went back and viewed surveillance footage from the night before Caleb's murder and saw that Christopher and Melissa went to Walmart to buy a pair of men's sneakers. During the investigation, it turned out that Melissa didn't want the arrangement of having the kids every other week to end, and she'd filed an application for shared custody on July 10th. According to the application, Melissa wrote, quote, "I have communicated with Caleb on numerous occasions over the past 12 to 18 months in an attempt to reach an agreement with him on the children spending more time with me. Caleb has been unwilling to entertain any increase in time contrary to the children's best interests, unless I agree to his child support demands." End quote. The night before Caleb was supposed to file a response, he was killed. Melissa went to attend Caleb's wake.
Yeah.
Oh my God, did you just hear that?
Yeah.
Are you serious? She went to attend his wake, but the family and friends told her to leave. They're better than me because I guess this story would have been completely different.
6 o'clock news all over again. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Crazy lady strangled woman. Like, how dare you? 2 weeks after Caleb was murdered, Melissa filed an application seeking sole custody of the kids with an explanation that their father had died, writing, quote, "This news was and is tragic and very shocking," end quote. The application was approved and she was granted sole custody of the children. In November, she then packed up all her kids, husband, and house, and they headed back to the East Coast. During this entire time, investigators were still working the case and watching Melissa and her family. During the autopsy, DNA was taken from under Caleb's fingernails.
Yeah,
this is why
because
they show
it definitely shows.
Everything.
Well, they put up a fight, and we got a lot of DNA. It's very helpful to
I'm
solve.
scratching
I mean,
everything.
but imagine beyond the grave, you can actually help solve your own murder because you fought back and you scratched. It doesn't take much to get DNA under the nails.
I'm scratching. I'm biting.
Yeah,
I'm scratching with
everything.
toenails and fingernails.
Yeah,
Look, pulling hair. Undercover police officers were tailing Christopher, waiting for him to slip up, and, being Christopher, one day he did. One day, while he was out doing errands, he dropped his coffee cup in the trash, and police picked it right on up. Another undercover officer posed as a trash man and picked up one of the bags of trash from Melissa's house. In it, they found the shoes that Christopher had bought at Walmart and a pair of latex gloves. The shoes were covered in dog hair. The gloves had Caleb's DNA all over the outside and Christopher's DNA all over the inside. And the report came back saying that the DNA under Caleb's fingernails matched Christopher's. They also found interesting correspondence between Melissa and the Harrisons, but we'll go into that later. In January 2014, Detective Phil King flew out to Nova Scotia and met up with the officers from that region. They then drove all out to Melissa's house. When they arrived, Christopher came out to meet them, and he was arrested immediately. He didn't put up a fight or anything. He just was arrested, and he went quietly. Melissa was arrested a short time later. They were arrested and charged with first-degree murders in the murders of both Caleb and Bridget. First-degree murder holds a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years. So basically you can't ask for parole for 25 years. And after, I guess, year 26, you can start asking, hey, can I get out? Can I get out? So anyways. Help me. When they were brought into the station, they were put into separate interrogation rooms. After 13 hours of interrogation, Christopher finally told Detective King, quote, "I didn't like Caleb Harrison. I'm telling you right now that Melissa Merritt did not know anything until it was done." "What did you do?" "I killed Bridget Harrison and Caleb Harrison."
Wow. Oh my gosh.
That's what he said. Now, I'll post both videos later on in the Facebook group, so search Love and Murder fan page and request to join, or I'll be posting them immediately in Patreon. So join over at www.patreon.com/Love and Murder. Subscribe over there, and you get everything as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, that's right.
Or even before everyone else. Anyway, Christopher said that in April 2010, he went to the house with a note pretending it was for the children, and when Bridget answered the door, he forced his way into the house. Remember that time? Hold on. Remember that time he came over with some pictures and a note, and Melissa was parked down the street? He did the same. Oh my God. So he did the same thing. So I guess since Caleb came home, that messed up their plan. So he came back again with the same thing, pretending it was for the kids. And this time nobody was around, so he forced his way into the house and attacked her. Quote,
wow.
"I hit her a couple times. Then I proceeded to squeeze her neck until she stopped breathing and laid on the floor."
That is crazy.
Oh my God. And if you watch the video, can you believe he was crying when he said this? I don't think he was crying because he was sorry.
Of course.
I think he was crying because he got
I'm in
caught.
so much trouble now. Why did I do it? It's always the same thing.
Because he did it 3 times,
right.
so
he
wasn't sorry.
They're generally not sorry until they realize that they're actually in trouble. For it, that's a lot.
Exactly.
To process. I'm going to have to serve time for this.
Ugh. I mean,
no, but that's not going through. That's not going through anyone's head.
Just gonna get away with
Think
it?
about it. No one is thinking that. No one is thinking that when they're committing murder.
We're talking about the dude who was supposed to be going by an alias.
That's right.
And forgot he was going by an alias and signed his real name.
America's dumbest criminals.
Anyway, when he was asked why he did it, he said that he thought if Bridget was out of the picture, Melissa would have a chance to get custody of the kids. That
is really stupid.
That's the dumbest reason to kill somebody, because once that happens, nobody's getting custody of the kids. You're lucky if they go back with the family. They might be put in foster. Anyways, let me get off of this. As for Caleb, Christopher got inside his house using a key that he'd taken from Caleb's eldest son. Can you imagine if this boy knows this? Because he might blame himself. Like, if I just had my key hidden, if I had done this different, are you serious, you piece of trash? You brought the kid into this? Anyway, he went in wearing latex gloves and those Walmart shoes. He punched Caleb in the chest while he slept. So he just stood there watching Caleb sleep, probably just stewing like, you mother... And then he just punched Caleb in his chest while he's sleeping. And of course, Caleb woke up and then they started to fight because Caleb wasn't a punk. But Christopher was bigger and he wasn't drunk like Caleb was. So I guess Caleb was still drinking. So anyway, so Caleb went to bed drunk and Christopher wasn't drunk. So Christopher is bigger and he's sober. And so in the end, he ended up winning. Caleb begged for his life, even offering Christopher money, but Christopher just kept quiet and Caleb started scratching him. Then Christopher began strangling Caleb and killed him.
Yeah.
Cold-blooded. You see what I'm saying? He wasn't sorry about what he did. Cold-blooded.
Yeah, there's no remorse there. Mm-hmm.
A plethora of evidence that Melissa and Christopher left behind in their rush to leave Mississauga was found. The most damning evidence was a laptop that had a bunch of search histories like.
I'm ready.
Char? You ready for America's dumbest? Well, they're not American. They're North American.
You're still a dumb criminal.
Canadian. So
right.
Canadia's dumbest criminal or North America's dumbest criminals. So search histories such as 2 months before Bridget was murdered, someone searched for, quote, what if a grandparent has legal custody and they die? Or, quote, legal custody and they die. Quote, if a grandparent has custody of the children and they die, which of the parents gets the kids? Quote, Bridget Harrison. Quote, Bridget Harrison, Mississauga. Could you just say, this is what she says, we killed Bridget Harrison. Could you just type that in and just... you're putting all the evidence here, oh my God. Anyways, they should just be Melissa Christopher killed Bridget Harrison.
That would just be too easy.
Just type that in. Mom and stepmother kills Bridget Harrison. You might as well. Anyways, then 3 weeks before Bridget was murdered, another search for, quote, oh my God, Char, they should have just written a letter to the police. Just
tell them everything.
Listen to this other search. 3 weeks before Bridget was murdered, quote, how long does it take to die from choking? And, quote, how long does it take for a person being strangled
searches?
to pass out? Yes!
Yeah,
they just had this on their computer.
Never look there.
And they didn't even try to delete it. That's the funny part about it. They didn't even try to delete it. Good Lord. So basically, if investigators had gotten a warrant to search Melissa's house after Bill or Bridget were killed,
they wouldn't have to say that it was
this. And Caleb and Bridget might have still been alive.
It clearly would be what it should be, what we already knew from the beginning.
If they didn't have people who were still in college and high school working on the case. Anyway, a month before Caleb's death, there was a search for, quote, easy ways to kill and get away with it. Oh my God, Char.
Oh, wow. Just handcuff me now. Let me just get this over with.
They should have just called the cops.
I will be here.
911.
Stick around
I
for
just
about
have a
45
question.
minutes. Come and get me. After that, I'm heading over to the casino.
No, it's not even that. I was just saying they should have called the cops to find out, hey, what's an easy way to kill someone and get away with it?
I have an emergency question.
No particular reason. Yeah, hashtag asking for a friend. Good God, these people are stupid. But the only problem with all of this evidence was that Melissa and Christopher shared the computer, so nobody could tell exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
They're in the same house. They're co-conspirators.
It does matter in terms of law because you can't say, like, for instance, maybe Melissa actually did.
Yeah,
I'm not saying this is, I'm just giving a scenario, but maybe Melissa didn't know what was going on. She's just leading her life, writing books and books, complaining or whatever. And Christopher just was the one who thought, let me just do this to help her get custody. And so he could have been searching.
Well, yeah, because what if I wasn't searching? What if I don't even know how to use Google? So how am I a part of this part of the conspiracy?
I mean, yeah. So it's like, I was just taking care of my kids. I got 6 of them. Like, I don't have time to look on the internet. Are you serious? So you can't just say,
so
hey,
it's basically,
there's searches on
so
this
then
computer.
It really means nothing.
Let's arrest everybody.
It's not, you can't use that in court. Permissible in court, is that what it's called? You can't use that in court. Inadmissible in court.
It's inadmissible in court, yeah. Exactly. So also, investigators, in their urgent hope to catch Melissa and Caleb, used a lot of unauthorized search and seizures of evidence. It just keeps getting from bad to worse. Weeks before the trial, it was ruled that the computer searches, as you said, would be inadmissible in court. On September 27th, so I guess they were like fighting to try and get this in court, but it's no freaking way. So first of all, you didn't get a warrant for it. And second of all, you don't know who was typing it. So inadmissible in court. On September 27th, 2017, the trial began. Christopher faced 2 counts of first-degree murder and a 3rd count of second-degree murder. Of course, he pleaded...
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Not guilty. But he wanted to plead guilty to manslaughter in Caleb's death. So he wanted to plead not guilty to first-degree murder, but guilty to manslaughter.
Sounds a little shady, so, but you're just trying to save yourself.
Life in prison. Yeah, you wouldn't get life in prison with manslaughter and everything. You probably get a couple years, but that's what he wanted to do, which the Crown rejected that plea. When Christopher took to the witness stand, he said that he confessed to protect his family. Then he said his confession was completely false and he wanted to take it back. No, I didn't mean it. I confessed because I thought if I confessed, I would protect my kids and my wife and everything, but that's not what I wanted to do. The police coerced me. He confessed because he thought he was making a deal for his wife to be released. Like, this is seriously what happened. What I said before was just me being funny. But he said he confessed because he thought he was making a deal for his wife to be released so that she can go and take care of the kids. He testified that he had nothing to do with Bridget's death, nor with Bill's death. It was accurate that it was natural causes. They just smelled a rose and just keeled over, so it wasn't me at all. And then with Caleb, yeah, he killed him, but I didn't mean to because, I'm a big guy. What do you want from me? I punched him in the chest. I strangled him a little bit. Yeah, I didn't mean to kill him, though. He said, I only meant to rough him up so that he would give them a couple extra days with the kids. Really? So I broke into his house, punched him in the chest while he was sleeping, and I was hoping that he'll say, you know what, since you're such a good guy, I'll give you a couple extra days with the kids. Really?
That was your plan, Stan? Okay.
Good Lord. During the trial, the Crown brought forth evidence that right before Bill died, he'd learned that Melissa and Christopher were planning to take the kids and leave. So basically, right before Caleb's father died, he found out that Melissa and Christopher were going to kidnap the kids and book it. Yeah. Basically what they did. But he found out. They argued that Bill could have confronted Christopher with this information and been killed in the process. But according to investigators, he just died of a heart. Anyway, the case against Melissa was ruled as circumstantial because there was no evidence to tie her directly to the crimes. Her defense argued that the worst case scenario is that she was an accessory after the fact. I mean,
I know.
Mind. Let me keep my opinions to myself. After 3 months of the trial and 4 days of deliberations, they reached a verdict in January 2018. Christopher was found not guilty for the second-degree murder of Bill Harrison. He was found guilty of the first-degree murder of Caleb and Bridget. Melissa was found guilty of first-degree murder of Caleb and Bridget, which, good.
We only waited,
after the whole family was dead. Anyways. However, the court called a mistrial on her charge of Bridget's murder because the jury couldn't reach a verdict. So the Crown issued a stay of proceedings. According to canlii.org, so that's CANLII.org, quote, to stay a proceeding is to stop or put a hold on a legal proceeding. A stay of proceedings can be temporary or permanent. For instance, a court may stay a civil lawsuit brought against an individual until the criminal trial against the same individual is complete. So basically, it's just a hold. Just wait. Hold on. Hold your horses. That's basically what that is. Both of them received the mandatory life in prison sentence without the possibility of parole for 25 years. After that time, they could see about their parole. Christopher, on the other hand, actually got 2 life sentences to be served concurrently. Both of them, of course, are appealing the verdicts. Like, this isn't fair. That's not what happened. It's not us. We didn't mean to do it. I just wanted to rough him up. I wasn't involved. So, yeah, both of them appealed the verdicts. Going back, the murders of Bill and Bridget were completely bungled.
Yeah.
So, Char, ready. Drink your water. Get under the covers.
I'm ready, Ky.
Get ready for this. And I'm saying
yes,
that because she's
under
literally
the covers,
under
and
the
I love
covers
water.
in her bed
I love water,
recording.
so I'm ready, Ky. Let's go for it. Let's hear it.
So, first, for Bill, the officer who reported that, quote, sudden death doesn't appear to be any foul play was a rookie, only in his 2nd year on the force. Why the bloody crap was he the one in charge of a murder investigation? Dude. Second, the neck abrasions, the fractured sternum, and the bruise on Bill's scalp should have been inspected. Years later, Ontario's chief pathologist would go on record as saying that this was, quote, an astonishing finding that should have raised a bunch of red flags. Really? Should have, would have, could have? Seriously? Next, the coroner who bungled Bill's investigation. People, sit down. If you're standing, sit down.
I thought you got tongue-tied on this last...
The coroner who... Look. The coroner who bungled Bill's investigation then became the province's deputy chief coroner. He completely messed up a murder investigation and he got promoted.
So he got his certification out of a cornflake box. You know, like years ago when I was growing up, we would get like a prize. Just kind of like in Cracker Jacks. Oh, looky, I got a prize, y'all.
He was like, oh,
so
mommy,
I'm a corner. I got my certification in my cereal box. I mean, that is so insulting to the entire town. And the family, particularly. The family,
it's not even the town, to the family.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
No, I can't imagine that.
Also, if the police had just done any further investigation,
like
just a little
bit of humor,
they would have found out that Melissa and Christopher had left Mississauga on the same day Bill died.
It's called fleeing the scene. And of course they got away because they probably got deep into Canada. Who knows?
That's why they got comfortable with continuously just murdering people, same fashion, everything. They didn't get caught. In the case of Bridget, if police had continued investigating Christopher's alibi, they would have found out that he had never visited Melissa's grandmother on the day that Bridget died, even though he said he did. So he said he went and got something from Melissa's grandmother, but if they had just gone and
just
asked,
she
would have been like, "Nah, I didn't see him that day." Literally follow up
crazy.
On alibis.
So unnecessary.
Literally all they had to do.
Oh, that's just it just irks you, you know.
And a whole family was killed. So horrible communication, terrible coordination, and bad note-taking are all the results of these bungled investigations and, in my opinion, led to the death of Caleb. I mean, to Melissa and Christopher, they, like I said, they figured they'd gotten away with it once.
But why not? In their mind, this is pretty simple. This is easy. There's no...
Yeah, nobody's checking on us. Nobody's even thinking about us, so... Allegedly. Anyways, during an internal investigation, it was reported that, quote, the officers involved in the death investigation of Bridget Harrison ultimately concluded that foul play was not a factor. The administrative review has determined that this conclusion was made in error. End quote.
You think?
Oh, thank you. I mean, thank you. I guess everybody's dead, but, thank you for that quote.
Certainly we can
feel
sleep
better
at night
as a family now.
Knowing that you've all solved that.
Exactly,
I mean, this is just really ignorance. And it's a shame that a whole town's police force and, these are experts who are supposed to train thoroughly for these things.
These aren't experts, Char. These
they're amateur
trainees
experts,
that they put in charge of everything. You can't be an amateur expert. You're either an expert or you're not. What are you talking about? Anyway, the investigation determined Bill's death was missed as a homicide because of a, quote, lack of ownership by the case detectives. Quote, the constable who was initially in charge of the investigation into Bridget's death was relieved by an acting detective as a primary investigator. Within 3 weeks of the death, neither of these officers were actively working on the investigation.
Within 3 weeks?
End quote.
So when they let go, they were fired, or why were they not? What does that mean? Because they shouldn't have been working on it in the first place.
No, they put them on a different case.
They should not have been working. They fubbed the entire investigation. There's no way
But even if they realized that they messed up the investigation, they just took them off of it. They didn't even put somebody else on it. They just took them off of it within 3 weeks. That's it. And then also there was, quote, confusion over who was responsible. So nobody knew anything in a murder investigation. Nobody knew anything. Who's responsible here? Oh. Exactly. They also reported, quote, gaps in communication among police, end quote, and between the police and the coroner in both of the parents' death, and that, quote, homicide was not consulted before the case was closed and no inquiries were made by the Homicide Bureau. So they didn't even ask the Homicide Bureau. Nothing. They didn't even take this to the Homicide Bureau. They just took it upon themselves to say natural causes, and they got no help by anybody else.
Oh, I mean, I want to say, I don't know, have you noticed in some of our other cases, is it maybe when it's a smaller community when these things happen? Because one time we had a case that was in Los Angeles, and the officers and all the authorities were just as fumbled, and they were just horrible. They just weren't competent. So it's not necessary. No, that was the one case. But it seems like most of the time when it's the authorities and, that are assigned, and they're just like whatever, and they really aren't thorough, and they're really not trained well. They really don't care, or they're very casual, and it's kind of like, I think a lot of times they were just smaller communities or small towns. So I don't know.
I mean, it could be, but I'm pretty sure large communities do it too. It's a shame. It's a matter of who you get, laziness.
Incompetence can be anywhere, I guess.
People who just aren't good at their job. Yeah, incompetence. It could be anywhere, yeah. So check this part out. When I researched this part, it's like, as Char says, what the? Modern forensic pathology in Canada started just around the time of the death of Bill Harrison. Oh. Can you imagine that? Most of the world has started training forensic pathologists in the 60s and 70s, but it took Canada around the year 2000 to train their first forensic pathologists. And even then, the only reason Ontario started to modernize the forensic pathology department was because Charles Smith constantly failed in look. So I had to use these kind of adjectives so y'all could just appreciate what I'm about to say. So they only started this pathology department because Charles Smith constantly failed in amazingly huge ways at his job. Can you imagine what that means? Amazingly huge ways to fail constantly at his job. How is he not fired? How was he not fired? He was a pediatric, but check this out. This is the frustrating thing about it. So you heard how much he failed. Now listen to how that benefited him. So he was a pediatric pathologist in Toronto from 1981 to 2005. But he had no training or accreditation as a forensic pathologist. However, by 1992, he became looked at as the expert in this field. How?
An expert?
Yes. He became the director of the...
They need some help.
Dude, but keep
credible
listening.
People.
Keep listening. So he became the director of the Ontario Pediatric Forensic Pathology Unit. Now, this wasn't because of his qualifications, because he didn't have any.
Right.
Why do you think he got the job, Char? I know you will never guess. And listeners, why do you think he got the job? Y'all will never guess why. So, Char, tell me, what do you think?
I mean, was he maybe the cousin or great uncle of one of the
I mean, that
deputies,
would actually be
I don't know.
a reason. That would actually be a reason.
Like relatively, connected?
That would actually be a reason, because you'd be like, oh, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
It's my family.
So that would be a reason. Nope, I'm going to give you one more try.
Oh, come on. That was hard enough.
More try.
I was going to say, put us out of our misery, Ky.
Okay. All right. It's because he was the only person willing to take the job. That was it. They said,
that has nothing to do with the family connection.
They said, hey, who wants to be this,
they were just like, hey,
forensic pathology?
Up for grabs.
Yeah. Anybody?
Going once, going twice.
Show of hands. Barbara, I know you finished teaching school. You want this? She was like, nah, I have 3 kids. I can't juggle this.
Right.
He said, Bill, you just graduated from high school yesterday. You want this? He said, no. I still, I just want to take a year off and tour
Europe. Flipping burgers over there off of Portland Avenue? Hey, you'll be perfect.
And Charles Smith is in
but
the back.
I don't have any experience.
Charles
it's okay,
Smith is
come
like
on.
in the back of the room, jumping up and down with his hand
right.
up. Ooh, ooh, ooh,
pick me, pick me.
Charles, you want it? Yes, yes. I told my mother I can make it.
Yes, I'd be somebody one day. I knew it.
Frick?
I told her.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
So for 25 years, Smith lectured to coroners, to police, to prosecutors about something he had no freaking
For 25,
clue.
that's a long time. Before anyone
he had
caught on to that.
Freaking clue what he was talking about. He was lecturing all these people. Good Lord. He rarely ever went to the scene of the death he was investigating. He didn't collect medical information about the body he was doing an autopsy on. And he was like extremely unorganized. Basically, he was like us, a true crime podcaster trying to tell the cops and everyone else how this person died. That's like us getting on here and being like, they arrested the wrong person, Char. They did that, right? I'm going to tell you who really did it. Even though I've never been at the scene of the crime, I have no prior insight into the investigation. That's exactly what he was, except that
he's not as qualified as we are.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Except that they gave him a high position to go over cases. That's the only difference.
That's just...
He probably got paid 6 figures for this.
Yes, that would never go over in Los Angeles.
Oh my gosh.
As dumb as that one little police department was over there, that would never. I don't think so. I think it's just, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that because it probably doesn't matter. Like you said, there's just dumb people everywhere.
Dumb people everywhere. So the difference is between us and him, he got paid 6 figures, like I said. And then the law enforcement actually listened to him. They're not going to listen to us.
They wouldn't listen to us.
He often testified at trials. He testified at trials, Char. And his testimony would seal the fate of the criminal defendant.
So who was the judge?
Dude.
Where did he get his license? It makes you wonder. Oh, my God.
So they just called on him, somebody who had no idea what he was doing, and said, what do you think about this case? And based on what he said, this person either went to jail or stayed out of jail. So he could have left killers out of jail and put innocent people in jail.
In jail.
Oh, my God. In 2007, the Office of the Chief Coroner did a review of the homicides and the criminally suspicious deaths that Smith had supervised, and they found that in 20 of the 45 cases, his report or testimony proved to be suspect, and about a dozen of those cases had resulted in a criminal conviction. So basically, at least out of 45 cases, 12 of them, they went to jail for no reason. Can you imagine that crap?
That's despicable. It really is. Someone else's life is unnecessarily they're serving time for something that they should not have been convicted of.
Dude, only because this guy wants to be a peacock.
It can't be this hard. Like how are these people just?
But it's just he could do whatever he wants. He could want to be like the cool kid. Everybody listens to me. He could do whatever he wants. But what flabbergasts me are people let him. They let him,
and no one, blew the whistle, just even noticed it. It's just
nobody was talking to each other.
Dumbfounded.
No departments weren't communicating. Nobody knew what was going on. So if you keep people confused, you can get away with a lot. And that's exactly what he did.
Communication's always been the key to
And then when somebody decided, there's one person who came in and they decided to get files and everything organized, that's when he was caught. Oh, God. And that is the case of the Harrison family. The entire family is dead. Melissa is in prison and her husband Christopher is in prison. I couldn't find out what happened to the children, so I don't know the update on that. Now, what do y'all think?
It's a curious thought to wonder, where the kids are and how they're doing.
The kids have no mother and no father. No, I guess, paternal grandparents, which is the ones that they knew. All because, and I blame the police force. I mean, obviously the people who actually did the act are to blame.
Well, of course.
But I also blame the police force. I blame them. This police force. I don't want to say police all over, just this police force.
No, we're not saying that. It's not a blatant statement.
But it's like, oh my God. What do y'all think about this mind-numbing, mind-boggling,
almost mindless?
Oh my God. What do you think about this case? Let us know in the comments below, because I'm baffled. I have so many words, yet no words.
I know. It just kind of leaves you numb because you're just so flabbergasted. You almost can't even express it.
I can't. And I can't even imagine what their family's going through. It's just
terrible.
Like, their kids are going to grow up and realize that, this happened. It could have been avoided. They could have still had their dad at least. Good Lord. So anyways, if you like this episode, then head on over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and rate us 5 stars. You can also download Good Pods and rate us there too. You can say whatever you want in the description. Say you are as annoyed and just...
As we are.
Exactly. Just let us know. It helps bring us up in the chart so others can find us just like you did. Don't forget to visit us on Patreon to become an exclusive member of the L&M community. You get commercial-free, full-length episodes of Love and Murder. You also get bonus content like cases about love obsessions or cases about the craziest crimes, or our new serial killer corner, which this week we have one dropping. You also get whole stories behind the scenes, and Ky just seeing crazy stories and decided to just read it in the group. So you get all of that and so much more. Join now, starting only at $3 a month. And also, we told you that Char recently moved, and in about a month she'll be doing a house tour. So if you don't want to miss that, come on in and subscribe. www.patreon.com/love and murder. Follow us on social media at facebook.com/relationship crime, Instagram at Love Murder Podcast. Join our Facebook fan group by either searching Love and Murder fan page in Google or Facebook, or by simply clicking the link in the show notes below. Find our awesome merch by going to our website, www.murderandlove.com, and clicking our shop in the menu above. You can get something that says, stay sexy, don't get murdered.
Yeah, that sounds
you can get
cool.
something that says true crime obsessed. You can get something that says true crime and coffee, even though I don't drink coffee. Ugh.
I do.
Ugh.
And I like my true crime with my coffee too.
I drink tea, so I would have my mug with tea. Yes. And an easy and free way to help us out is by simply sharing this episode. So go ahead and share this episode with your mom, with your dad, and with your brother, I guess. But not with your ex-wife.
And your dog.
I'm just playing. Share it with your ex-wife too. So just share. Just go to the on this episode, just hit the share button and share with everybody. And as we always want you to know, we always end each episode the same way. Remember that it's
all love and no murder, y'all. Have a great, safe week. Good night.